When Perfect Order comes to Pokemon TCG Live on Thursday, March 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, the subreddit will be flooded with people asking why their decks aren't valid anymore. Also, Mega Zygarde EX and Decidueye EX will be free in the new Battle Pass, which means you'll have to pay extra to blow someone, as Mega Starmie, the best new deck in the set, will have to be crafted manually. To try and alleviate the huge load new players will blow onto the internet next week, standard rotation happens at the exact same time on PTCGL as Perfect Order launches. 1,000 cards with the G in the bottom left will leave the format on Thursday, where they'll be forever banished to Expanded. So if your deck has Pidgeot or Ino or Arven or Golden Go or Nestball or Artisan, it will become invalid and you'll have to fix it. If that sounds like a lot of work, just click on the playlist in the description for several lists you can easily copy and paste into Live that are ready to go for 2026. With that out of the way, this is the Mega Zygarde deck you'll receive immediately upon logging into TCG Live at any point between March 26th and May 20th. I'll give them a slow golf clap for building a decent list, though their obsession with trying to make Scramble Switch a thing is getting a bit tiresome. I'll talk about the strategy in a mine-in, but you have everything in the list to get 5 energy on Zygarde and launch Nullifying 0. As a bonus, there's 12 new cards from Perfect Order given to you for free, including a 3/3 Barbaracle line, 3 Zygarde, and best of all, 1 Meowth EX. Meowth is the best card in the set, letting you grab any supporter from deck. So 1 copy for free to every player is huge. For how to play Zygarde, it's all about launching Nullifying 0. It does take 5 energy though, which is why Barbaracle's here. Barnacle Boy's Stone Arm's ability accelerates a fighting energy from hand to any one of your fighting types. While it is theoretically possible to get 5 energy on Zygarde by turn 2, that's next to impossible, requiring all 3 Barbaracle in play. So you'll probably have to settle for doing it on turn 3. The reason I'm hyping up Nullifying 0 so much is that Gaia Wave isn't all that exciting. It's a simple 200 damage, reducing incoming damage next turn by 30. That is enough to one-shot Meowth and Pheasantipede as well as Lillie's Clefairy, but most everything else is surviving. Especially when you realize the deck doesn't include Premium Power Pro. So how do you deal with the higher HP threats like Mega Lucario? That's where Core Memory comes in. At the cost of discarding all energy, you deal 350 damage. It's still not enough for someone like Mega Venusaur, but against things like Dragapult and Grimmsnarl and Raging Bolt, they're done. But again, you want to Nullifying 0. For each of your opponent's Pokemon in play, you flip a coin. If it's heads, Zygarde does 150 damage to it. This is an amazing attack, able to completely wipe their bench of things like Dreepy, Dracloak, Munkidori, Frostlass, Badoo, Psyduck, and so much more. And if their active happens to be weak to fighting, like Mega Kangaskhan or Bloodmoon Ursaluna, it's knocked out due to weakness. Unfortunately, it's a coin flip. So unless you're a YouTuber looking to make 20 cents on a short where you go 0 for 9, it's too much work for too much risk. And hitting the bench isn't as powerful in this day and age. Terras like Dragapult and all the Ogerpon are everywhere, fully protected from damage if they aren't in the active. For single prizers, all your opponent has to do is put Shaman in play and they're protected as well. Additionally, some grass decks might run Rabsca, which protects everybody, including multi-prizers. This is a long-winded way of saying that Zygarde isn't doing great post-rotation in Japan, and you shouldn't be surprised if you play it a few times, then quickly give it up like me on a first date. In terms of upgrades, you can ditch the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, Area Zero, and Scramble Switch. They're all far too situational and bloated deck that wants to stay lean and mean. If you really want to make Scramble Switch work though, Wally's Compassion isn't a horrible idea. Let a Zygarde take a lot of damage, Scramble Switch into another one, moving all energy in the process, and fully heal the old one with Wally. But you don't actually need Scramble Switch. With just 2 Barbaracle in play, you can use Wally, re-accelerate 2 energy and manually attach a third, allowing you to Gaia Wave. Alternatively, you could go for something like Scoop Up Cyclone to clear anybody off the board, or Hero's Cape with Jumbo Ice Cream for tons of healing. The reason I say you don't need Area Zero is that you really only need 6 Pokemon in play at a time. 3 Barbaracle, 1 each of Lunatone and Solrock, and 1 Zygarde is your optimal board. You can completely cut out Meowth and Pheasantipede, though I wouldn't blame you if you kept one of them. But Lunatone draws 3 cards every turn, and Solrock can deal with lower HP threats. After removing Ogerpon, Area Zero, and some of the unnecessary cards, this is what your Zygarde deck should look like. I kept Scramble Switch because I don't know what's in your collection, but it should definitely be switched to Scoop Up Cyclone, Hero's Cape, or even Prime Catcher. Otherwise, there's just a few additions totaling 700 trade credits with 2 Lively Stadium, 1 Wally's Compassion, and a few other trainers. Then at tier 50 of the Battle Pass, you'll receive this Decidueye EX deck for free. Unlike the Zygarde deck, which will award trade credits if you already own 4 copies of any card in the list, you won't get any bonuses here. Don't ask why, that's just how the dev decided to do it. Anyway, despite going a little overboard on the Decidueye line, the deck is fairly close to what you want the final product to look like. Though, as I'll explain in a moment, 4 Growing Grass energy is too much, and Max Rod isn't a great ace spec. But you do get 2 Vivillon, which is 100% necessary for the deck to function. For those who haven't watched my last 6 or 7 videos detailing perfect order cards and decks, Decidueye does 240 damage and discharges an energy from their active. While the energy attack cost might cause some sussy riz, as the kids would say, don't worry. Thanks to Robin Hood's ability, you can ignore all colorless energy in its cost, provided your opponent has 4 cards in hand. Well, guess what? Vivion's ability forces them to shuffle draw 4. And if you somehow can't get the butterfly into play, Judge also activates Decidueye's ability. While you might be tempted to stick with the 4 growing grass energy, which boosts grass Pokemon HP by 20, I've got some bad news. Dragapult and Badoo will remain standard legal for another 370 days. Also, you can't find special energy with Bug Catching set. The deck does include 1 copy of Colress's Thicacity, which Meowth can find, but 2 is the optimal number, not 4. Because there's 2 different Stage 2 grass types, Forest of Vitality is imperative. Both Colress and Petrel can find it, and I don't hate that there's 1 of each. Petrel can get any trainer, so it's more versatile, but Colress also grabs an energy. Finally, you're probably wondering about Relicanth. This allows Decidueye to copy Dartrix. If you whiff an energy, Decidueye can use Feather Shot for free thanks to its ability sniping 90 damage. So it's great for picking off a Dracloak or cleaning up a KO you missed. And in a pinch, Vivillon can deal 120 damage, just be prepared for trouble because it'll probably get knocked out right after. For what an upgraded Decidueye deck should look like, the changes are minimal. I added an Ignition Energy as a safety precaution and lowered the count of growing grass. 1 Badoo makes sense as something to do on turn 1, though that could be swapped for somebody like Celebi who grabs Pokemon and stadiums. Max Rod isn't the best ace spec since recovery isn't super important, so don't be afraid to swap it for Maximum Belt or Hero's Cape or even scoop up Cyclone. Now that the free Zygarde deck is known, I can update the Perfect Order crafting guide. Before, it would have cost around 7,500 trade credits to get all the best cards. Removing Barbaracle, Zygarde, Meowth, Tarragon, and Core Memory, it'll now cost you just north of 5,000 trade credits. If you're thinking the list of cards to craft is small, well, that's what you get when the Pokemon Company gives us a set with just 81 new cards. The crafting cost will likely go down even further next week when we learn about the 8 new free decks being given out to every player for all of 2026. So stay tuned for the announcement video ranking them, then another video where I go over how to upgrade them. For a bit of PDCGL housekeeping, which is much different than the roleplay for the win and I do when we share a hotel room, we're getting a new trainer trial on March 26th. Because IRL players have to wait 2 weeks for rotation, this trial will give those training for tournaments a way to test out the previous current pre-rotation format. This comes as a direct result of people complaining more than Trust Your Pilot in any video when Ascended Heroes was delayed for competitive play IRL but not on live, creating an imbalance. Finally, we have patch notes for next week's update. As a reminder, the update will go live on Tuesday after 8 hours of maintenance, but rotation and perfect order won't arrive until Thursday at 10 AM. Overall, the update is a massive disappointment, especially if you were hoping for the card select glitch to finally be fixed after all these years. But I mean, if you still had hope that that would happen, you clearly haven't watched any of my rant videos over the past 4 years. In addition to perfect order and rotation, the update also preps for future trainer trials that will focus on fighting types only and the return of GLC. Despite promising at the start of the year that more expanded sets will begin to release in TCG Live in 2026, GLC will continue to only include Sun and Moon through Mega Evolution cards. So I wouldn't expect Black and White or X and Y cards until much later this year. As for the actual fixes, it's nothing of consequence. Cards won't disappear when the timer expires, the battle log will show the correct name, and your friends list will show the proper level and rank. Only 1 card is getting addressed, and it's the Hydreigon EX that was massively broken upon launch in White Flare last year, causing it to get banned. Apparently, it was even worse than we thought because they're making 2 separate fixes despite no one ever actually using it. In the letter to the community, along with confirming that Mega Charizard X and Mega Lucario will be part of the 8 free decks for all of 2026, they added that they're overhauling the tutorial for new players. On top of that, the Learning Lab will teach you how to play Zygarde. At the very end of the letter, they mention that there's plenty of exciting content and updates planned for all of 2026. Unless I missed something, they didn't announce anything exciting today. A last format trainer trial and the return of GLC doesn't get my toes wet. We want actual expanded, a functioning game, and a trainer trial focused on pre-releases or a draw 13 choose your 6 prizes. Not Gym Leader Challenge for the 6th or 7th time, which should be a permanent game mode at this point anyway. And yes, I had to complain at least a little bit because I was far too kind in today's video. While it's disappointing that Starmie isn't one of the free decks on this upcoming Battle Pass, Zygarde and Decidueye are about as good as we could have hoped for. I mean, could you imagine if Mega Clefable was one of them? That would have been more disappointing than this video ending abruptly.